This is Steve Harris from Iron Maiden and British Lion. You listen to Andrew McCaskey from Scars and Guitars.
G'day everybody and welcome to the show. I'm very pleased to bring you a conversation with bass player extraordinaire Brice Leclercq. If you're unfamiliar, Brice is the bassist who helped Jon Nödtveidt deliver his swan song. So Dissection, the final album, Reinkaos. That's Brice's playing you can hear across the album. So of course he talks about Jon Nödtveidt and his time working with Dissection, but we go much deeper. He talks about his philosophy. He reflects on his time with Jon, and he answers the many questions that I have for him about the long since departed, iconic black and death metal musician. Elsewhere, we discuss his tenure in Satyricon. He was the bassist who toured on the back of the Age of Nero. Brice has also got his own band, From Kaos, which provides plenty of topics from which to draw a conversation. Principally these days, he works as a bass teacher and YouTuber. So we talk about that as well. Now, a bit about the audio quality of the episode. There were plenty of audio glitches throughout the conversation, so it's nothing wrong with the quality of the conversation itself. As a matter of fact, I really hope to reprise the chat at some point and to go deeper on some of the topics that we merely touched on. But there's no doubt that I've had to cut this one to ribbons, unfortunately, and that means that some of the points, it's not that they sound half-made, but I wasn't really able to continue the conversation in my typical flow just due to the technical issues that we were facing, but I really feel strongly about this episode that it is one that is worth listening. So efforts were made to ensure that the recording meets the show's usual standards, but I had to leave some of the glitches in place to preserve the integrity of topics of conversation. Hope that makes sense. All right, so here he is, Brice Leclercq. G'day, Brice. How you going?
Fine, just fine. It's morning here, so I'm still waking up a bit, but it's all right. How about you?
I'm very well. Yeah, it's the early evening here, so I've just been out and about doing things with the kids all day for the most part because it's school holidays now. We have I know in the northern hemisphere,
right.
yeah, you have the summer off. Well, we do too, but it coincides with Christmas, obviously. So just trying to keep the kids entertained and ferry them to their various Christmas parties and birthday parties and all the rest of it. And in between doing interviews and everything else that life tends to manifest.
I see.
You know how it is, yeah.
I see.
Yeah. What time is it there, just out of curiosity?
But you play. What did you say?
Oh, what time is it where you are?
Oh, it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, gotcha.
10 a.m.
Yeah, you're about to ask a question.
It must be 7 p.m. in Brisbane, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
the evening in the subtropics, mate. It's raining. It's
Is it?
Yeah, well, they sell the subtropics with sunshine. That happens in winter, and then in the summer, it's grey skies and rain. But the it's like 31 degrees Celsius, and the humidity's at 100%. So, it's,
Oh man.
Holy
man, there is only AC going on right now. I imagine.
No, it's interesting. That's a good point. With air conditioning, if you have it on too much, you can get a bit sick because of the difference between temperatures, and you end up becoming getting too cold, if that makes sense. So you got to find a happy medium between. I only usually use it at night when we go to bed, so as we can go to sleep. But during the daytime, you sweat and everything else. What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. But yeah, okay. Oh man, here it's very cold. It's like I'm in France, so it's like maybe 4 degrees Celsius plus and cloudy and winter time and yeah.
Yeah. Are you in the city or in a rural area?
But I like. No, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I cannot stand the cities.
Me neither.
I don't like to be in the middle of people. I like nature and Australia is great for that because you have such. I mean, it's a beautiful country and a country where you still have nature, and you can be in the middle of nowhere if you want to. It's great.
Yeah, it can be. There's a
I
fine
think.
line in Australia, I think it's probably fair to say. So the reason why most people live in the cities is because a lot can go wrong in the bush, like bushfires, and there's a lot
For
of
sure.
different, like, you've got to be prepared to live with, like, it's a cliche, but snakes and spiders. You've got to live in amongst that and not be worried
For
about
sure.
that. If you're worried about
For
that
sure.
stuff, you couldn't live here. You couldn't live here. It would be, I'll take my bull terrier for a walk at night, and there are spiders as big as my hands sitting like staring at me, and it doesn't bug me
I
because I've
understand.
grown up around it. It doesn't matter to me. But I imagine if you're not used to it, it's very confronting, you know. But
Oh
you
yeah. Oh yeah.
just get used to it after a while.
Especially
But
if you have some kind of paranoia with spiders or snakes or whatever. Some people have that.
yeah,
That's
right.
not a good idea.
It depends on your exposure to them. So, for example, I've never been bitten by a snake, but I've got a real thing with them because I go bushwalking, and I'll see them.
Hmm?
And the reason I've got a real thing with them is because if you get bitten far away, the chances of you having a very serious illness because of it. So it can lead. You probably won't die, but it can lead to a stroke.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so it's not really about a fatality, but it's about your ongoing health effects getting from the
For
venom.
sure.
So you've got to
I
be
have to.
really, careful and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a cliche about Australia, mate, but it is what it is.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I'd love to visit Australia someday. I never had the chance to tour in Australia. I could have when I was in Satyricon at least, but never got the chance. I want to one day. At least I want to visit, and it would be great. It's a country I'm attracted to because not so many people are living on it, and it's always something I'm interested to. Um, and
Well,
and plus, you have
we all learn how to
very
speak
big
Spanish at
country with
school.
very different, I think, very different, um, yeah, landscapes and such a big country. I mean, you're bigger than USA, I think, or more or less the same size. So it's huge, man. It's really
Yeah.
big.
I think we're slightly bigger than contiguous USA, but we've got
Yeah, for
less
sure.
people living in the whole country than there are in Greater Los Angeles. So that shows you
That's
how
right.
difficult it
That's
is.
right. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. I mean, that only that it's for me. I mean, it talks to me. I like that.
Yeah. Well, Australia really, by rights, should have been French. Do you know the story about La Perouse? Have you
No,
been
I didn't.
taught
I
that?
don't.
So
No.
there's a suburb in Sydney called La Perouse, and I don't know the fellow's first name, but he's a French sailor, obviously. But he was racing Captain Cook, not Captain Cook, was it Arthur Phillip, one of the two, to
Okay.
declare Australia terra nullius for the French Empire. This
Okay.
this is well before Napoleon. So, but Australia went, like, I'm talking that close to being a French colony.
I
So
didn't know that.
we would have been speaking French. Yeah, very strong French influences here, mate. Always, like,
Really?
very strong. Oh yeah, you go down to Melbourne, especially with the restaurants, and you're probably very familiar with French history and political history
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
influence of socialism and this republicanism that's very
Yeah.
strong in Victoria and Melbourne. And there's a lot of academics that came from France to teach at Victorian
Okay.
universities and state institutions throughout the 1800s. So there's I wouldn't say we've got the closest. Like, obviously, our relationship as a colony is closest with the British, but
Yeah.
France is definitely in the mix when you look at our, New Caledonia is just over that way. Vanuatu, there's
For sure.
a lot of
For
French
sure.
people in Australia. Yeah,
Polynesia and New Caledonia, it's a lot. There are a lot of French islands over there for sure.
yeah,
So it's not far, as you said.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, and you seem in Australia to be living your own life in your little corner there, and I love that. I really like that. I think it's the key to not to have too many problems. I think so. To stay a little in your own little thing, doing your own thing. It's the key, not to have too many bullshit happening. Good.
Yeah,
It's good.
compared to poor old Europe, which, the strange
Yeah.
death of Europe, as we're calling it, and the things that, like,
Yeah.
look, like everybody, I've never been to France, I've never been to Paris, but I look at what's going on in Paris and I just shake my head, and I don't know how regular people can survive living there. It just seems chaos.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's a shame because it was such a nice country and was such a nice town. Even Paris has such a big history and everything. But it seems that the world is turning to shit, and especially in Europe, especially in France. I mean, it's a bit the same situation in England, if you look at it, or in Germany. Some problems, some issues, but it's turning to hell, and I don't like it the way it turns out. But hopefully, it will get better at some point. At least when we touch the bottom, have something drowning. The way I see it, it's Europe is drowning.
Mm. Sorry, the internet connection is just going in and out. Sorry,
it doesn't
mate.
make any sense. It's not good for the countries. It's not good for the people. It's not good for anybody. But the people, taking the decisions. They're the only ones it's good for. But the countries and the people are, yeah. It's the way it is. We got to do with it. We don't have a choice. We have to make the best out of it. That's what we try to do.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll show my hand earlier with these things. I just really hope a Trump presidency sets for nothing else and just sets things on a more rational pathway. Okay, I know plenty of people find him as a person unpalatable, but the politics of the authoritarian left were incompatible with Western values, and
that's right. It's very funny the way it's very it felt like it was more than political. It was like two main ideas why fighting each other and like, well, is his side that won, but it felt like that. It was very strange to watch. And in Europe we don't have that. In Europe it's one side, and it is only a few people deciding for everybody on top of the EU, and it's like weird decisions, man. People that don't know what's happening in the real life on the field, if you say so, but just weird decisions and more. So it's very, very strange time.
Yeah,
funny time.
Well, I look at it very simply, which is that you simply cannot have unelected officials making decisions for an entire population. Right. You just from the EU to Brexit or the globalist organizations.
It doesn't work.
Else.
That's right.
You can't have it, mate. It's simple.
Of course. No, it needs to be an election and people electing some candidate that know the country where they are working and taking the decisions in consideration of the country and the people living in it. And right now it's not the case, and that cannot work.
And for anybody that disagrees with us, I simply say, with unelected officials, how in the hell do you hold them accountable? How do you hold them accountable if they're not generally elected? You can't vote them out. So these people, like the Schwaben, that nutcase German running,
woman there,
these are to be honest, mate, these are evil people as far as I'm concerned, because they love having power over general populations. It's wrong.
For sure.
Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah,
a lot more. It's funny because they call many people crazy, but they're the craziest, man. They really are. They are fucking nuts all over the place. They're really, man, how nuts you need to be to take that kind of decisions. It's like, okay, strange time, as I said. Yeah, very strange time.
Yeah,
it's a very nice Gallian Kruger you have behind you, and I know this amp. At least I know the cabinets behind you there. I've played those cabinets with Satyricon back in the days in the rehearsal place.
Okay, yeah,
great sounding cabs.
That's a good
very, very.
It's
very aggressive and punchy sound.
Yeah, but it's just too heavy. I love it, but it weighs 50 kilos or something, or 40 kilos as it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I play in clubs, you see. I play covers in
Oh
clubs.
shit.
So I got a little, when I say little, it's not that
Okay.
little, but David Eden, Eden amps. Got
Yeah.
David Eden amps instead. So
Yeah.
that's an absolute monstrosity, that thing. It's absolutely huge, but it's great sounding.
Yeah.
To your point.
It is. It's often the case with bass stuff. The heaviest shit is the best sounding shit. It's often like that. It has to do with the wood they use and all that, and the speed. Yeah, you play bass, right? In the cover band, or?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I play every weekend, and when I was a young fella, I really wanted to do what you're doing, but in Australia, we don't have the networks
Yeah,
to
it's
help us.
complicated. It's complicated for sure.
I
I
know,
moved to Sweden, to play music as I did.
Yeah.
I was in USA first because I needed to take some vacation and see something else. So I went to USA for 1.5, 2 years, and then I decided to play at a high level. And for that, I moved to Sweden, and then it worked out pretty well. Yeah, but I understand what you mean. I know how it feels. In France, it's not that. It's closer to people and countries that can deal with that, with the industry, but it's not easy either. There are not the connections, and plus it's difficult, and to find people to play with as well. It's difficult. Everything is a little more complicated. In Sweden, it felt like every corner you had a great musician to play with, and it's not that difficult to find people that know their stuff, and it felt great actually.
Well, you joined Dissection at a pivotal time in the band's career, or certainly in their
That's
history.
right.
So correct me if I'm wrong, you were on Rebirth and Reinkaos, is that correct?
That's right. That's correct.
Look, I've got to ask, because then my mate, you know Jamie Astanu at all from Dimmu Borgir,
Yep.
So he's a really good friend of mine, and he knew
Cool.
Jon, but
Right.
Yeah, you were in a band with Jon, so I mean, I've got to ask up front. I know you know this. There's a lot of interest around Jon in old fans like me,
Sure.
Dissection and Jon. Yeah, what was your experience like working with him?
It was great working with him. Looking back now, and now that I'm doing my own project and my own band, From Kaos, I kind of go back to this time and remember how he was doing things when it comes to guitar playing and when it comes to running a band. I got influenced by this because my time in Dissection was great. I had very good memories. My audition went very easy and very well. It felt very natural to play that stuff with Jon, and Jon was very easy to play with. As long as you knew what to do and you knew your shit and you were doing it, we were doing it together. I mean, Jon was not the kind of a band leader that would tell you what to do when and all the time and play like this and do that and do that. He really let us do what we wanted to do. Of course, we had to agree on which direction we would go, and that was not a problem. And he was very easy to play with. That's all I have to say. And very natural talent. Very. I saw Jon writing a track in one evening, just thinking about it, and it's like, no man, I'm coming back tomorrow. And then the next day he had composed the entire track. That was the kind of guy he was. He was not the kind of guy that was planning, thinking too much about the way his song to sound like. He was just writing them, and he was coming out, and he played the same way. He played on a very authentic and natural way, and that's why I remember from him for most of it. when I recorded Reinkaos, you were talking about that earlier. He didn't even come to the studio to check if I was doing something wrong or not. He just let me record my stuff, and then he listened when I was done. And so he did the same thing with Thomas, and I mean, to be able to do that kind of stuff, I mean, in a band leader with an album that was as important as Reinkaos was for Jon, was it felt great. I must say, it felt great because it felt like the guy, had confidence in us and was confident with the results, and he felt like holy shit. And I didn't find this. I didn't find this kind of relation in another band after Dissection. That's for sure. It's not the same way. Thomas, Jon, and I were really. I mean, we worked very well together without pushing it too hard. We worked on our own stuff, and then when we were together and playing together, it sounded right, and that's how I remember Dissection. Great time to be in this band at this time, for sure. That's for sure.
Okay, yeah, and you're also on the live performance. Is it a live album or a DVD? The Rebirth.
Yeah. The Rebirth in Stockholm exists in live CD and DVD, both.
Yeah, copy. Yeah, gotcha. What was? I mean, that was one of the. What year was that? Was that just before he passed away? I mean, obviously it was, but
no, it was. Rebirth of Dissection was recorded at the end of October 2004, and then we did a European tour for 2 months just after that, and then we did a few festivals in between, and then in March, I think April 2005, we recorded Reinkaos. We played a few festivals in between, and then it took his life, I think, 1 year after that, around 1 year, a little more than a year after that, in 2006, I think, 2006, yeah.
How did you find out that he'd killed himself? Were you close enough to him for the family to inform you?
I didn't have any contact with the family, Jon's family, but first of all, I heard that Jon wanted to end Dissection. I heard that a few weeks before he took his life, and I was thinking, in my head when I heard that, I was thinking it's not possible. It's not possible that Jon ends Dissection like that, because I don't see Jon without Dissection. I don't see him doing anything else than Dissection. So I was really having a hard time coping with the fact that he would end Dissection. Plus, he was not actual when I was in the band. We were already talking about rehearsing the next album and trying to write it together and stuff like that. So it was not. We were not talking about stopping everything. but it turned out that. He didn't. Yeah. He didn't continue that way. And I read on the newspaper in Sweden. It was in the front page that he had taken his life in 2006. That's how I learned that, because I was already not in contact with many people. You know, when I left Dissection, I didn't play bass for 3 years. So I didn't talk to anybody, and I was like, I didn't feel. It was the hard path to leave Dissection. It was a difficult decision, and it would have been a lot easier if I would have stayed in Dissection. But I choose not to, because I felt it was not right. That's the way it was.
Did it surprise you at all, the way things ended up?
No, it didn't. It didn't, because, as I mentioned, when I heard that Jon didn't want to continue with Dissection, I didn't get it. I really, when you knew Jon, you knew that he couldn't do without Dissection. I mean, it was his life. It was his thing. It was the way he expressed himself since he was a teenager, you know. So I didn't see any continuation. Plus, I left the band because I didn't agree with the business decisions or the main decisions around the band. And I knew that we were going to end up in a bad place, at least when it comes to the money thing, because we were not business-minded people. None of us were. I was not. Jon was not. Thomas was not. And we needed, in my point of view, we needed a manager. We needed people that are in the business and know that kind of the business part of things. And I believed in just focusing on the music, doing what we did best, and then have people working, doing the business sides of things. But Jon didn't want that, and I understand better now with the years. But I still think, and I thought back then, that if we didn't choose the right people, we would end up right in the wall, and that's what happened. We went bankrupt. The company they created went bankrupt, and it went to shit. Unfortunately, because I wish that it didn't turn out. I wish I was not right, but I was right. And it's a shame. It's a shame. It's a waste of talent, in my opinion.
Why didn't he listen to you? Why do you think he didn't listen to you about the business side of things?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if he was influenced by some other people that was not as well intended than I was, or at least concerning the band. Plus, he had lived a few disappointments with the music business. Let's put it that way. And he was a little, I think, afraid to have that again. He didn't want to have that again with Dissection. And I agree with him, and I understood that. But I told him, I remember I was telling him, yeah, but now you have the chance to take your revenge. Now you have the power to decide what you want and don't want. It's now that you can do it. But it ended up that I had to leave.
Did you leave amicably? In other words, were you on good terms with Jon when you last spoke to him?
I left the band knowing that I was leaving probably the band I was most proud to be part of. And I knew that. And I loved playing with Jon and Thomas. That was also something I knew I was leaving. But at the same time, I knew that I was going to end up in a bad place when it came to the money thing. And I was starting to have financial problems. And I couldn't continue this way. And so I took this decision. Not that I regretted it, but it's not the way because I think I was right to do what I did when I did it. But kept my bass for 3 years after I left the band. It was tough, but I moved on, and now I looked at it in a different way, with a lot of respect, with a lot of I have a lot of I think I had the chance to be in that band at that moment was for me a chance. I learned a lot, and I felt great playing that stuff, and I'm proud of it. Yeah, for sure.
Has there ever been conversations between you and Set or Thomas or even Jon's brother to maybe do something? You know how these bands come out, and I wouldn't call them tributes, but they carry on the legacy. Has that conversation ever happened?
Yeah. I cannot tell many details, but yes, it happened not so long ago. Let's put it that way. The way I see things is, I'm not so fond of this kind of tribute band, mainly because when you have a band like Dissection, that was such a strong statement from one person. I mean, in my eyes, Dissection was Jon's band, and always been. and will always be. And he was. I helped doing the bass the time I did, but when it comes to writing the guitar and doing, I think Jon was the man for that. And I don't see anybody being able to take this role. And I'm afraid that if you do so, it might turn out. People will always compare the original with the new stuff, and it can end up that people will be disappointed, because I don't underestimate Jon's playing and Jon's singing. I know how difficult it was. And the way you see covers on YouTube, you don't see many very good Dissection covers on the guitars because they are so difficult to play. It's very individual. He had his own style. He had his own way of doing the chords, of playing the leads. And it's very difficult to step in these shoes, in my opinion. Plus, when the guy is not here anymore, I have a problem with that in a moral point of view. You know what I mean? People making money on top of that, but the guy is not here anymore, man. And doing a one-shot thing as a tribute with all the old members, but like a big fucking show, but one shot, I would do that. This I would agree to do so, but do a real tribute band and come back and stuff? No, I don't think it's such a good idea. I understand that the fans want to hear some stuff, but I'd rather try to do my own stuff again and try to do my own band and try to build something new and maybe do a few tracks as a tribute, yeah, but do a tribute band. I think it's delicate and I don't believe in it that much.
Yeah. Well, you went so you hung the instrument up for a couple of years, 3 years to be precise, to your point. But in 2009, there was the Age of Nero tour with Satyricon as well. So how did you get introduced to Satyr and Frost?
Yeah, good question. As much, in both case, in Dissection and Satyricon, I just applied like anybody else. I just contacted them through the website because I saw on the news that they were looking for a bass player, and I thought it was time for me to get back on my feet and play again. And then I contacted Satyricon and asked them if they were interested in auditioning me, and they said yes. And then it worked out. And then I did audition, and it worked out. And I did an American tour, American, US, and Canada tour, and I did a part of the European one.
What was the contrast like between Satyr as a band leader and Jon?
Oh man, not at all the same way of running a band, but the opposite almost. In one, and Jon was the kind of band leader that would trust his bandmates,
yeah,
and wouldn't ask them. You know, he would let us do what we wanted because he trusted us, and if he had us in his band, it's because he made sure that we were the right guys, and because he made sure that we played right, and he trusted us. Satyr is not like that. He's always very critical, always very. He's the other way around. Plus, Jon was very, as I told you earlier, was very natural when it came to even writing music, playing music. He didn't think much. And he thinks everything. Everything is thought, everything is calculated, everything is there for a reason. And it's a total opposite way of doing things. And it's funny. I'm more of the Dissection type, but everybody is different, and the music is not the same. I used to play not soft because I play pretty hard with Dissection, but I play in a more melodic way. I try to adapt my playing to Jon's. Was not at all the same playing. I needed to play a lot harder with Satyricon than I did with Dissection. I needed to have a very tight picking technique with the drums to have this very aggressive sound. It's different with Dissection was a different playing. It's the same. But it's interesting in both ways. I used to break my strings with Satyricon. I break string every show almost, E strings and plectrums as well. I always use this Fender,
Nice.
heavy triangle picks. Yeah.
Where's mine?
But I break them with when I was playing with Satyricon. Yeah.
Yeah, mine. I'm just getting out mine just to have a look at what I only use it at home occasionally, but mine are very thin. They're 88s because I play guitar as well. So
do you play with fingers as well, or do you play only with a pick?
Oh, 100% with fingers live. I'm because I got taught to play, so I'm But when I'm at home and I'm trying to figure things out, I like the attack because then I can hear where it is. Does that make sense? Like it just feels a bit easier at home when I do that. So, and occasionally because I also sing, and you can relate to this being a bass player, playing with your fingers and singing can be very challenging because it's the opposite side of things. Whereas this is why a lot of singing bass players downstroke all the time because it's a lot easier. But I'll tell you what, this is a hack that I'll share with you, Brice. What I found is when I'm singing and playing, I just play with one finger. So I go like that. And that turned the focus.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. That because when I was going like it was too hard going like, the usual thing. But when I started going like that, I don't know what happened, but it just seemed to unlock this code in my brain, and all of a sudden I could focus on my voice. I'm not even thinking about playing. It's just that I'm doing it, but I'm not thinking. And I can just focus on the singing, which is, challenging at times. To be honest, playing is easy.
It is that challenging to sing and play at the same time. I'm always amazed. Some guys, Jon was great at that. He was great at that. Do you know that he didn't like to sing? And he told me sometimes. When we rehearsed, he almost never sung because he didn't like it. He only played guitar, he didn't sing much. If he started singing maybe a week prior to Rebirth to kind of, I need to get my voice on shape again, but he was great at it. He could sing and play that stuff. It's difficult, as you say, it's a coordination fucking exercise that is not easy, depending on what you play. But
intricate music
dissection stuff is not easy, really not.
Yeah, what Jon was doing and Chuck Schuldiner, what those guys do, and Jenny Lee,
Mark Lee as well.
Mark King especially from Level 42. Mark King for me is just the god, He's the very best of the very best, As a muso singer, I don't think there's anybody like Mark King.
For sure. It's incredible. It's not easy. Really, it's an exercise that I never really tried to do both at the same time, because right now I started to sing then, but I don't well. At least I would need to practice it quite a bit.
Yeah, I just locked myself away for a few months and did the singing because I was a good backing vocalist, but lead vocal is backing vocal. I'm down an octave and going underneath, but lead vocal you got to sing the higher part, and they're two different things, and it's been I just
it's not good.
I play. Can you see this? I just got this recently. So I just want to show. Can you see that status?
Oh yeah,
it's a real status. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, you'd love this.
Yeah,
bass.
Nice one. 5 strings as well. 5 strings and all black. Cool.
Yeah, and
it's all right.
Yeah.
Nice. Because sometimes I used to put colored tape on my neck to be able to see where I was at some time, because with the hair and the shit happening, and sometimes it's very dark on some stages.
Oh, you're right.
And then you need to have some kind of I was saying that some stages, I remember when I was on tour, were very dark, and with the hair you don't see where you're at sometimes. And I used sportsman's tape, they used to color, some kind of very flashy color, and I would set it on my neck on top of it to be able to see where I was at. But you have lights on this bass, which is very practical for that. I believe.
Oh, it's a really good point, because the first gig I did with, that's not my secondary one. It's just the one that I use at home. But you've always got to have a couple of frontline instruments, as you know. My other one's in my car, but it's a headless version of that one. And with that one, it's got the same neck. And I did notice that I was like, oh shit, because I was used to playing with a maple fretboard on a Music Man bass. I could see everything, whereas the black ones you can't really, because as you know how dark it can get on stage, and you can get the blue light, and the blue light makes no different. Like you might as well be pitch black. And I actually, when I was getting my other ones made, I actually emailed Dawn, who's the wife of Rob at Status. So Rob's the guy who makes all of the basses at Status.
Yeah.
And I asked them if they could put a little line across. They said they weren't able to do it, just like a wafer-thin line, just where the fretboard met the neck. And they said they couldn't do it. And now I'm used to it. I don't care. But at the beginning, I was like, oh, my God, how am I going to do this? But because I really wanted the Status sound. I didn't want to continue with Music Man. I knew I was done. So, because I've been playing him for like 25 years. And it's like, after a while, you're like,
I love Music Man as well. So that's why I play the Sterling now. But and I love the neck shapes. I found them very, very comfortable and great sounding basses. But I understand after 25 years that you needed to something fresh.
I just couldn't get a good sound. To be honest, I had an awesome bass. I had a 5-string 30-year anniversary Stingray. So I had the gold hardware. You would have loved it. It was a beautiful looking bass.
Oh shit!
But mate, to be honest with you, it sounded like shit. It sounded like dark toast, like dark chocolate.
Really?
I couldn't get a bright sound out of it at all. It sounded like, in its defense, it sounded great through the PA when I listened back to the live recordings, but on stage it was boomy. Do you know what I mean? Nothing I could do could change the boomy sound. And I had to play 5-string. I don't like playing 4-string anymore. So I'm completely 5-string now, and I just didn't. I just found that I was getting sick of it, and I got good. I think I got more back for it than what I paid for it, so it wasn't like a bad investment in that way. But the Status basses, mate, are like, to bring them into Australia, they're like $7,500. So they're like twice as much, price wise than what the Music Man are. But to be honest, mate, it's those instruments. So you can relate to this. I'll probably be using Status for the rest of my life, because they're just that upper echelon. They're like up there with Wal and Alembic and, those fantastic basses that have been used through the years. And I'm not knocking Ibanez and all those other Japanese brands. I think they're all great. Just depends on what you want to do, that's all.
If you compare the bass world to the guitar world, I find the bass world a lot more different when it comes. Because many of my students ask me what kind of bass they should get and stuff, and it's very individual. That's what I was saying, that when you look at players like Steve Harris, Geezer Butler, J.D. Lee, Lemmy, Jason Newsted, you can go on and on. Everybody has their own sound, and they have a very different sound. In the bass, in the guitar community, it's a little closer. The sound are different and infinite, but closer, I found, and compared to the bass world, at least.
Yeah. So you let's talk about this now then. So your YouTube channel, it does feature bass covers and playthroughs, and you are good. You're very good at what it is that you do. So you're clearly inspiring people because you've got a following in that way.
Thank you.
But what was the catalyst, or what was the inspiration behind you wanting to do that?
First, the first reason why I wanted to do that is because I thought that some players like Jimmy Bain, like Bob Daisley, those kind of players didn't get the recognition they should have got through the years, just because they were the typical bass players that didn't themselves too much, but they contributed to such important and iconic albums that I thought that maybe somebody should show what they did back then, and put it on and show it to people, and maybe inspire them to pick a bass and play and listen at least to that stuff. I mean, Bob Daisley, he played with Gary Moore, he played with Rambo, he played with Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, he wrote Crazy Train, he wrote Suicide Solution. He did very, very, very. I mean, he really was important in the scene and for the metal community, I think. And I don't see that wasn't why I wanted to do that. And then it evolved. Of course, people were starting to ask me about dissection playthroughs, and it evolved a little bit more into a teaching base as well. I started to comment in my videos because I felt that I needed to tell people a few tips and tricks they could use on their own terms. Then I play stuff that I think are very interesting to look at, and then I try to show people as well a few tips and tricks on how to make things better in the bass world, at least.
You're doing a very good job at that, and I'm so glad you mentioned Bob and Jimmy Bain as well. Now, I have had at one stage I was in, I wouldn't say regular contact with Bob, because Bob's from Sydney, Bob's Australian, so
I know. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we were having quite a few conversations because I actually sought lessons and mentoring from him. And
great.
And I can tell you, he's a bloody good guy too, mate. Like he's no bullshit.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Bass players are often like that. They are no bullshit. They are great. You don't see them often enough, but they're great guys very often. And I'm sure, I believe 100% what you're saying. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, but you mentioned Jimmy Bain as well. I feel like a lot has been written about Bob, though. Like he's finally getting his recognition because fans
finally now,
finally now
true.
Fans are going, well, he's the guy who wrote the lyrics and wrote the albums for the most part.
For sure.
But Jimmy Bain as well. To your point, I was listening to some very early live recordings, featuring Jimmy with Dio, and far out, man, he keeps it simple, but it's not the point. The point is he's rhythmically in lockstep with what Vinny's doing.
Exactly.
And then Ronnie who's the guitarist from Northern Ireland? What's his name? The bloke in Def Leppard now.
Yeah, the guy that plays in Def Leppard now.
That's right. Jesus. Any other time I'd remember his name, but
I don't remember the names that well as well. But I know who you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've identified that he was crucial to that band's sound, obviously.
For sure. Obviously, everybody was back then, but Jimmy Bain, man, he played with Rainbow. Not many people could only audition for Rainbow. I mean, if you got in Rainbow, it's because you were a fucking good musician, a really good musician, and not only that, is that. The work he did with Dio after that, it was incredible. The sense of melody and the sense of groove of this guy was out of not many people could do that, really. I think this guy is underrated to a point where I hope someday he will get the credit he deserves, but I of course read Dio's biography, and he talks about Jimmy Bain in it, and Bob Daisley as well, and in that he talks greatly about them, and they did a lot. I mean, Jimmy Bain I mean, the guy was a real rocker, the way rocker should be, in my opinion, at least. That's the way I see it. He was a real rocker and a real musician, and a sense of groove and melody that was, not many people have that talent. And I saw him live with Dio in 2005. I saw him playing with Dio because he was back in the band. He always, sometimes he came back and then he was off and then he came back, and he had some issues there privately. But when I saw him playing, man, it was, oh man, what a bass player. Such an inspiration, really was.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
And the playing.
Yeah. But it's that era of bass players that were just fantastic as well. There's so many to mention.
For sure.
The leading lights like Steve and Jetty always, they're obvious.
Of course. Just
beneath them, you've got guys like, Bob's sort of on his own because of what he was able to do with the lyrics and songwriting. I think Bob is probably one of the great songwriting bass players out there.
For sure.
And
Dio talks about it in his biography. He explained that he wanted Bob Daisley first before Jimmy Bain because of his capacity to write music and lyrics as he did. He was great at it, and everybody wanted him. I think he did some great work with Gary Moore. I don't know if you heard the albums he played with him, but oh man, I love his work with Gary Moore as well, man. He really was inspired with Gary Moore. And I love Gary Moore as well, but really underrated there as well. People don't know enough of his work with him as well, but really great players, awesome players.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned, I didn't know that the Dio had specifically singled him out, that he wanted him in the band before Jimmy.
Yeah, he talks about it in his biography.
Yeah, because I know Bob is very fond of Ronnie, actually, and look, it's not always the case. I'm going to have to Google the name of that guitarist now. It's annoying me because I know that he's been on record as saying that he didn't get along with. Hang on, I'll just find. I know this guy.
He didn't get along with Dio, I think, after
Vivian Campbell. How could I forget? Yeah, Vivian. Yeah, but
Vivian. Yeah, that's right.
He's so good, Vivian, as a guitarist too. Yeah,
for sure.
Maybe just a clash of personalities. Maybe that's what it was. But Bob was always, even with we would have private conversations, Bob and I, and he told me how much he liked working with Dio, and even when those rare opportunities to play live with him used to come up.
For sure. Dio seemed to be a very, very, very. I met him, but just during festivals and stuff in backstage, and he always seemed so humble and so nice. I had a good feeling about Dio, and I'm not surprised that Bob talks highly about him. Not at all. He has a good reputation in the scene, even if he had his own character and he had his temperament. But I think he was a awesome dude to play with.
Hey, just talking about your teaching again, as a mentor. What's the most common challenge that students face, and how do you help them overcome it?
Good question. I would say very often students try to run before they walk. That's the typical thing when they learn. At the beginning, they want to play fast, but they want to play fast too fast. Yeah. You need to learn the slow stuff and work yourself up. That's what I always say. Work yourself up. Start slowly. Be patient and work yourself up. Don't try to run before you know how to walk, because it won't sound right. A bass player should be a reference as much as the drummer is. He should be reliable. He should be and if you start to play like a guitar player and shreds instead of doing your job, it won't work out. It's not your place. As a bass player, you should. Of course, there is a lot of melody, and of course there is a lot of, and I do play with a lot of different harmonies and stuff. But you're a bass player, and you should be reliable, and that's the most important part of it is the guitar players, the singer will count on you, and you are the foundation of that. And you need, that's what we try to do with Dissection and Thomas. Thomas and I worked very well together, very steady, very reliable, but Jon could do what he wanted to do on top of that. And if you look at bands like Gary Moore or even Joe Satriani or that kind of Steve Ray Vaughan, or do all these people that have this guitar virtuoso thing always have a great drummer and a great bass player with them. Always. It's very important. It's essential to understand that music, the foundation of rock and roll and music is on the bass and on the drums. And if this is right, the top will be good. If this is wrong, the top cannot be good.
Yeah, I think I've got to be honest about something. I think Tony McAlpine and Yngwie are about the only two guitar virtuoso shredders that I can listen to without me wanting to turn them off within 5.
Yeah, I understand that. That's because you're a bass player, man.
Probably is. Yeah. Well,
I understand that.
Yeah. Just boring shit. Like I just
Yeah, because you don't get into the guitar things, man. You need to get in the guitar, and you're a bass player. That's why. But that's taste thing. It's good. You need for everybody, Some people will.
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong. I know.
Get bored with Tool and very complicated time signatures and technical rhythmical stuff, but some other will love it because we are bass players or because we are drummers and. I love Jaco Pastorius, and I can understand that many people can stand that stuff, and I understand that. But it's because, your interest is according to what you like most.
I've done a big, when I used to have a radio show and I did a big thing on Jaco, about 3 hours. It was, or maybe 2 hours.
So cool.
It was cool. Yeah, I'll share it with you, and I hope you like it. Because
sure.
I really, of course, we all do. We're bass players, man, because Jaco is just the alpha and the omega in so many. In terms of finger style playing, he's the guy.
Oh, for sure. But nobody comes near this guy. Nobody.
And I think on record that's correct, but unfortunately, I think because he was drunk and high so often, his live recordings are shit.
Yeah, some of them, not all of them.
No, correct. Yeah.
Well, at the end of his career. It was not the same. But at some point, when he was in Weather Report, at that time, 75, 76, 77, oh man, live or not live, and he didn't take anything. I heard and I read interviews about all the guys that were playing with him, and he didn't take anything back then. So he was very, and that was magical. It was awesome. But I heard, as you say, that it was the other way around when he started to do too much drug and alcohol.
Yeah, it just wasn't. There's a lot of YouTube recordings. There's a lot of copy, and I've read just about everything you can possibly read about him. And the last decade of his life was just fucking tragic. And
he was.
It just seems like nobody could. When I say control him, nobody could get him to see sense.
It's tragic and I mean it's complicated. It really is. I'm gonna tell you. I realized that composing music is a lot more spiritual than it seems like, and I realized that with my own band now. When I started composing music, I saw how it can be, how it works, and I understood better in which place he was. I'm going to explain a little better because I remember a guy playing with him in Weather Report, I think, one night after the gig, saying he went to a bar with him and the guy started to cry and was like, "What's the matter with you, Jaco?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to die when I will be 34 and I want you to take care of my kids." And the guy was like, "What are you talking about, man? What are you saying?" And he's like, "I'm going to die when I'm 34 and I want you to take care of my kids." And he's like, "Man, stop talking nonsense and just take it easy, And he didn't get it. But the guy knew he was going to die. Of course, you can tell yourself he killed himself taking what he did and stuff. But I don't know. I think he was just meant to be that way. That he was meant to be on this earth to do what he did at the point he did it, and then when he was done, finished. You know what I mean?
I think
there was no point to stay anymore. And he said that when he left Jaco told him, this guy, he told him, I don't want to be here anymore. You see? I think the guy just did what he was intended to do, and once he was done, there was no point to continue living. I think.
Yeah, I do believe the only esoteric thing I subscribe to in that way is that you do have a predetermined period of time on this earth. I do believe that.
Plus, I think when you sacrifice your life like he did to music, that much, and the way he did it, I mean, you have nothing left once you've done music. You know, it's a dangerous game, but he did it. He pushed the thing. He pushed, and that's why I love Jaco Pastorius. Is because the guy is an extremist in the sense that he pushed the bass playing in the bass world to the max. He just took the bass playing and put it apart, and took everything apart and say, okay, that's how it works. Well, I'm gonna change that, and then he did his own thing, and. Nobody did what he did. He's to my ears and to my eyes, he's a genius that was meant to be on this earth to do what he did, and then it's sad, but I think he didn't find a goal in life anymore once he was done doing what he did. And
there are astute observations. Yeah,
it's very strange to see. And that's the way I feel it. I mean, the music I feel when I listen to his first album, it's like I don't feel that much emotion in anybody else playing when it comes to bass playing, at least.
Yeah,
his capacity of putting emotion in his playing is just overwhelming almost. It's like, oh, how do you do that? And I'm always amazed to hear the first album, especially the Jaco Pastorius' first album is for me a piece of art, a masterpiece. Really, it really is in all terms. And I get influenced by him, but not in the sense that you could hear it in my music, but in the sense that to push the thing and try not to give a crap about the style and not to give a crap about what people think or would not think. And in this case, I think he influenced a lot of people, and I like that. And I like the idea behind it as well. Not to bother too much about the style, but just play music and do it for the right reason. And
I don't want to misquote Rob Trujillo, from Suicidal Tendencies and Metallica and everything else he's done, but he's always been a big Jaco fan. He is the bloke who funded the documentary,
and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, Rob is the one. I can't stand Metallica these days, but I would dearly love to talk to Rob in the way I'm talking to you now and just get to the bottom.
I understand.
Yeah,
and I have a lot of respect, and I think many bass players when he did the movie about Jaco, I don't know if you saw it. When I saw he did that, he went up in my respect. I was like, oh man, if I had the money he had, and I would have done something like that. I would have loved to do something. He didn't do it to make money. He did it because he wanted, because he loves Jaco Pastorius, and because he wanted to make some kind of tribute movie about him, and it's great. I loved it, and I really did. And as you say, Robert Trujillo seems to have matured so much in Metallica that now he seems to be a very down-to-earth guy, and I really like the way he does things.
Yeah, I was talking to Groot. Do you know Grootle from Enslaved at all?
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I know who is he.
Yeah. I was talking to him, and he shared a story that he was doing crew work on one of the festivals backstage. He wasn't playing, so he was driving a forklift or something, and he turned a corner, and Rob Trujillo was standing there. And Rob came up to him and said, "Hey guys, how you going?" He asked for some hiking trail advice and a few other things, and like as if he's just a normal guy. And
Okay.
and I thought, well, he is a normal guy, so I mean, he's entitled to do all of that stuff. But I just thought that's the measure of a bloke, how he interacts with regular people. And
For sure.
what's his name?
Metallica guys seem to have gone so long in their path that now they seem to be such very like old metal daddies taking care of everybody and very humble and don't give a shit anymore because their career is behind them anyhow. And
but then you got the opposite. You got like Van Halen, Alex Van Halen's recent diatribes, and even Mark Jansen. Do you know Mark from Epica at all?
Yeah, no, I don't know him either.
You'd like him. He's a good bloke. He's another good bloke.
Okay.
And he told me this story when they were backstage somewhere, and they were all lining up, and Dave Mustaine was ahead of him, but didn't have his lanyard or something on him, or it was something like that. Anyway, I have to go back and have a listen. But basically, to get around the obstacle that the individual who was trying to basically say to him, "Look, I don't know who you are. You could be anybody. You need to have your lanyard if you want to go into this area." I think it was a food queue or something like that. And the bloke, apparently Dave Mustaine said, "Look, I'm me. I'm Dave Mustaine. Like, how dare you?" That was sort of the inference. And I'm sure I've got part of the story wrong there, but it's regular people, mate. Like, shit happens and you go, all right, I'll go and get whatever I need and come back. And he might have been
tell you
time, but yeah.
I'm going to tell you a story talking about Metallica and Jaco Pastorius.
Yeah.
When I was living in USA, and I was prior to me moving to Sweden, I spent my last evening in USA, in Seattle, at Lars Ulrich's father's apartment with him and his wife, Molly.
Lars Ulrich, you went to his father's apartment in Seattle.
Yeah. I had dinner with him. My last evening I swear it's true, man. He died last year.
Yeah, I believe you. That's a heck of a... How did that...
I mean, his wife was a customer where I was working, and that's how we got introduced to each other. But it clicked somehow. We got along very well right from the beginning, and I never talk about either Lars or Metallica with her, though she knew that I knew, but I had the respect not to, and I guess she liked that, and she told me, "Okay, you're moving back to Europe, but you're going to spend your last evening in USA at our place." And I met Torbjörn, and it clicked even more. I mean, this man had such an influence on me. People don't know that, but I was young, and I was very young, but Torbjörn was, first of all, he was a Danish guy that I moved from Europe to USA. So we had this in common. And I was going to Sweden, which was a Scandinavian country, and we had this again in common. And it happened that we had many things in common, and influenced me a lot, a great deal. And on top of that, it's him that at his place, I remember taking Jaco Pastorius' first album in vinyl, and like, "Man, what's that?" And he's like, "You don't know that?" And I'm like, "No, you should. You will listen to that." He told me, I remember, and I did, obviously. But the guy was so interesting, one of the most interesting individuals I've met in my life. And I've met shitload of people, but he was a jazz musician, professional jazz musician. He was writing books, and he was a painter as well. I mean, I remember going through his discography, was amazing. I mean, Lars was very lucky to have grown up in in a house like this with a father like him. And I think he says it today. I mean, it's his father that took him to Deep Purple shows and stuff in the 70s.
Yeah.
And that's why he became what he became after. And I'm not surprised. I mean, I've met the man and he's great person. One of the most interesting person I've ever met, really. And he left a big mark on me. Big mark, for sure.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
I was very sad when he passed away last year, and I wrote, of course, to his wife and all that. But I knew he moved to San Francisco at some point and stuff. But I never talked about loss with him, and I never talked about Metallica. Even though I'm gonna tell you that I got to know about Jason Newsted leading Metallica before everybody else, because his wife came to me one morning and she's like, "Brice, yeah, something happened." I'm like, "Okay, something big, very big happened in Metallica." Okay. She told me Jason left, and was like, "What?" She told me you will hear that in a few days, but he left. And I was, holy man, really? And it was true. It was at that time, yeah.
Wow. What were you doing? Where were you working, and what were you doing in the States at that time?
I was salesman working on Pike Place Market, if you want to know. Pike Place Market is like in center Seattle, and I was selling groceries.
Selling groceries. Right. So you're doing the tried and tested musician thing about working in a hospitality environment. Copy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's how you meet people. Look what it led to.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I've met some crazy people as well after that. I mean, I remember Joe Barresi, you know, the guy that recorded. I mean, Joe Barresi, after I left Dissection, I studied sound engineering in Sweden, and during my studies, I had to do some kind of thesis. I don't know how you call it, but I had to do a work on a producer I would choose, but I would have had to go very deep into the thing, and I chose Joe Barresi because of his work, because I loved how he approached producing music. You like or you don't like the band he did, but at least he approached them in a way that nobody else did, and I liked this approach, and I liked the sound he was doing, and so I did that. And then when I joined Satyricon and we played in USA, Los Angeles, I see the guy after I played. I knew he was coming, but I didn't even dare to shake his hand because he's Joe Barresi, and I see the guy, and we meet each other in the stairs backstage, and he's like, "Man, I'm sorry, I have to stop you." And I was like, "Yeah." He tells me, "I watched you playing the entire gig and never stopped playing, man. Your right hand is I mean, I never saw a right hand like that. You never stop playing. Keep on doing it, what you're doing." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm such a big fan of your work, and you're telling me that. If you only knew how much I know about you and the way you produce things, I'm a big fan of yours as well." And yeah, you know, that kind of people that you meet out of the blue.
That's fascinating. Yeah, Joe Barresi is one of my favorite all-time producers because he did Stoner Witch from Melvins. Weezer's he didn't produce it, but I think he did the engineering or something with Weezer's Pinkerton as well.
Yes,
the big one,
Queen of the Stone Age, he did as well.
Oh, Queen of the Stone Age, yeah, of course he did. Yeah, he did Lullabies to Paralyze, I think, didn't he?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
But the big one, mate, the big one is Sky Valley, Kaos.
Is Tool, man.
Tool. Oh, well, yeah, I'm not a huge. I got to be honest, brother. I'm not a huge Tool fan. Like, I would interview any one of the members, but I really loved Anima when it came out, but I didn't get into anything else.
Yeah, but the sound, man, the bass sound, and the way he pushed things, it was amazing.
Yeah, I find it a bit. I got to be honest, mate. I just find it very samey.
Really?
Yeah, it's just me. I was talking to Marcus Jadell from from Avatarium and many other
Hmm?
bands about this, and because he left, what's that band called that sounds like Tool? I can't remember their name, but they really sound like Tool. But they're the drummer from Opeth's band. Anyway, but they sound virtually the same. And we talked about it a bit at length because he left the band because of the reasons that I'm explaining, which is that after a while, there's where else can you take it? It's like, oh, look, I'm
Yeah.
Australian, brother, and I don't like AC/DC, to be honest with you. So
Really? Oh
yeah,
shit!
yeah, I know. That's what everybody says. Yeah, they're shocked that I can be, Australian and not like AC/DC. But I just, you know, I. I guess I love very dynamic music at the end of the day. Like, I love Dissection
Listen,
for that reason.
music is very individual. It's up to you. It's a matter of taste. I cannot. I'm gonna tell you.
Mm.
I cannot stand Queen, and I cannot stand Rush.
Okay,
And you know
yeah,
why
I
I
can
cannot
relate to
stand
that.
Queen or Rush? It's because I cannot stand the voices. I don't like them, and I'm not talking shit about those bands at all. I respect them, but I don't like them. I cannot hear it. I cannot listen to it. That's and that's taste. You cannot go. And it's good that we don't all have the same taste. I think
No, I
it's
agree.
good.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree with you. Yeah, yeah. But Joe Barresi,
so
did you because he worked with Satyricon too? What was the album that he worked on with them? The Age of Nero. That was the one that you played on the back of.
I played on. I didn't play on. Victor played on the album, and
Yeah.
then I played on the tour after that. And we met with Victor a few times. I know him. We talk sometimes.
Oh
He's a
yeah,
great guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. But no, that's fascinating about Joe Barresi, man. Yeah, he's the one guy. There's a couple of producers that are out there that are like Michael Beanhorn's another one who's fantastic. He really knows what he's doing, and I have
Yeah,
had a
he's
chat with him
fantastic.
too. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah,
believe
he's
that I got to
fantastic.
speak to him. He had so much information to share, like about Aussie,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
because Aussie's fucking horrible to work with.
I've heard. I mean, I don't know. I've heard rumors, and I've played as well. Once again, yeah, I know I should write a book, but I've played with Night Rage back in the days before Dissection, and in
Okay.
Night Rage,
Oh,
there were
I've heard of them. Yeah, yeah.
Greek guitar players, the band leader and the other guitar player, Gus G. Gus G played in Aussie. Sorry about that.
No, you're right, bro. You're
And
right.
yeah, he played with Ozzy Osbourne, so it didn't work out. And knowing him, he was a very easy dude, man. It was easy to play with this guy. I mean, Gus is a very easy dude, and that it didn't work out. I was surprised, and of course, it's very individual there again. Sometimes you work with some people and some other people don't work, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, maybe it's not that
You're talking about
easy to
Gus.
work.
Sorry, when you're doing Gus G, aren't you? Sorry, from
Yeah.
Five. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah. I've spoken to Gus about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, he didn't want to give much away, but yeah, he's fucking been through. He went through it. There's no doubt. But I mean, he was just an employee, unfortunately, and that's how everybody's looked at.
And I think I'm not sure about Oz. I mean, if it's really Oz or Sharon, because Sharon takes care of everything more or less. Oz is just here to do what he did. But it's Sharon that took care of it. Did you know that Sharon called Dissection around Rebirth and wanted
No,
us to do the Ozfest?
holy shit! Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
amazing.
and not only that. Iron Maiden's manager, the
Rod,
famous and
yeah, Rod
mighty
Small.
Iron Maiden's manager, uh, yeah, called our manager back then, same period of time, and wanted us to open in the UK for Maiden. And I was like, holy man! I mean, it's unfortunate that we couldn't do it because we had already paid for our European tour, and we would have lost so much money that we couldn't afford it. And so we had to turn down the offer. But man, play, yeah,
Like
Sure.
that's a sliding doors. I always say that with bands, mate, there's bands of prominence. There's a sliding doors moment, and that unfortunately sounds like it led to a different pathway.
Yeah,
Having to take on
yeah.
that tour as opposed to work touring with Iron Maiden, because, mate, that would have changed. In my opinion, I'm only talking about what my opinion is, but my instinct tells me that would have changed everything.
The energy that was around Dissection when I was in this band was enormous. I mean, the energy during the shows and around the band was, whew, it was very powerful. And of course, things would have turned out a different way if we would have done certain things differently. That's for sure.
What happened with the? Okay, so that accounts for what
Which
happened with
way?
Iron Maiden. But what happened with Sharon and Ozfest? How
Yeah,
come that didn't happen?
yeah, because John's record and what he did, we couldn't get in the US. We would have loved to, but we couldn't.
Of course, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
that's why.
Oh,
That's why we had to turn down, not because anything else. We would have done it if we could have, but it was not possible. And I think they tried to go and have some special permit, some kind of thing with a visa and stuff to be able to do a tour. Even after I left the band, but it didn't work out, and I'm not surprised. It's impossible almost to get in the US when you have that kind of record. That's for sure.
no, I
It's a
think
shame, though.
Jamie's told me, because Jamie knew him before he was in prison, and he also spoke to him afterwards, and he said they're two different people. And talking to you
Yeah,
now, and I'm only sharing my opinion, as if I'd know. I didn't meet John, but just because two people who were pretty close to him have shared stuff with me, it sounds like John was
yeah,
from what I'm hearing, my take on it, and I could be
yeah,
completely wrong, but my take on it is John may have felt like as though he was a prisoner to his past.
yeah, in a way. But he was also influenced, badly influenced. John was somebody that didn't want anybody to tell him what to do with his band, but at the same time needed to be part of something. And he needed to felt that in him right from the beginning. And I don't have this at all. I'm the other way around. I get creeped if I'm a part of a group myself. And that's why, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He couldn't do the band. He was some kind of yeah. He didn't find any way out. I feel this like that.
In your view,
And prefer to, yeah, in my view.
But no, I mean, but in your view, do you think he regretted what happened? I think John must be listening in because you've just cut out again. Sorry, mate. It was good for a
I
while.
got sentenced. Do you hear me?
Yeah, it's just keeps I think John must be listening in.
Okay.
Because it's cutting in and out a lot at the moment. So
Oh shit.
But yeah, this happens. So I'll share something with you. I go on ayahuasca ceremonies and those sort of things. So I'm kind of used to some pretty eerie things happening, but it doesn't bug me, mate. It's just part and parcel of being alive and living these days. So but
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff happened during the recording of the album, and stuff happened. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind betting he's listening in right now. Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
what's your, I say in your view, but what's your take on it? Do you think that he lived with regret around his actions with the murder?
Regret. He used to answer that he was sentenced to 10 years and he did his He did what he did, and he paid to society for what he did. Once again, for me, the most important thing in Jon's life always was and always will be dissection, and it was that was his goal. That's what he liked most. That's what he preferred to do. That's what he set everything, and he put everything in that. When he said, "I stopped that," I didn't understand what he could do, and he told me once, because I used to spend a lot of time with him taking care of band stuff, but he told me more than once, "Brice, if I didn't have dissection, if I didn't play music, I wouldn't do anything of my life. I would stay at home and don't do shit, because I'm not interested in being part of that. I just want to do music, and if I don't do that, I'm not interested." And of course, I think he meant every word when he told me that, and all the way. And I think that when he stopped dissection, he stopped his life as well, because there was no point. No point.
I don't think anybody's given this type of insight about Jon before, Brice. I've got to hand it to you. I've spoken to Sarah at length.
Yeah, I know.
Sarah Jezebel. She's toured with Jon, and she knows Jon. She knew Jon, and she's got her view on her take on things too, which was really interesting to hear. But nothing like this detail you've given me.
The thing is, I don't know really why. But people don't seem to. It's like, don't talk about Jon. Why not talk about Jon? I talk about Jon with respect, and because that's the way I feel. And the things I say about him are always very, very respectful, and I don't see the problem saying that. Of course, there are things that I will not talk about that I private, but. Saying that is not nothing private, and it's nothing unrespectful. It's the other way around.
No, and also the other thing is you're actually allowed to have an opinion, and it's important.
For sure.
Yeah. I was talking another issue, but I was talking to Nick England from In Flames and Halo Effect last night, and I spoke to him. I've had a bunch of conversations with him over the years, but he said to me specifically, he goes, I can't. Last time I talked about Inflamed with you, I got into trouble. And I said, God, they're a fucking sensitive bunch, aren't they? If you can't have an opinion about something that you were a part of, mate, then that's just authoritarianism as far as I'm concerned. Plus, it's your opinion and you're fucking allowed to have one.
I agree with that. Plus, I mean, I know what the fuck I'm talking about because I was there. I was with him.
Yeah.
And as you say, I mean, I'm allowed to have my opinion, and I'm allowed.
Yeah. It's not happened too much on the show where people haven't been willing to. I'm always very careful about the way I frame questions. I've got to say,
talking in respect about Jon, in respect about what he did, and I don't see the problem with that. Not at all.
No, I know. I'm with you 100% on that. Yeah, it's not just about Jon. It's some other people. I'm just trying. Probably long after the conversation is finished, a few examples will come to mind. But we've had other situations on the show where we've talked to people and I've had to cut bits out and things, and I just can't understand why there are some sacred cows to people. Look at the whether blabbermouth picks up on things or not is beside the point. Okay, we can't control the media environment as it exists in 2024 and 2025. Like it's set in stone. It's all about hits and clicks with these news aggregator sites like Metal Injection and even the ones that are apparently doing proper journalism like Decibel. I don't rate very highly either, to be honest with you. It's all a bit lowbrow. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, man. I have a hard time coping with that mentality.
I know. I just don't get it. Like So you're a highly articulate,
and
intelligent person.
integrity is not a part of the game. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I just get like so talking to you. You're a highly articulate, intelligent person who has a story to share, and I'm eager to get to the bottom of it from the perspective that I'm actually a journalist. I'm a bachelor of journalism. That's my trade, if you like. So I'm naturally inclined to be that way, but I also want to do that anyway. Plus, I've got the academic rigor to scaffold it, if that makes sense. So it all sort of, I think you can see that. I'll never forget when Stuart Anstis told me I was the first person in, let's say, well, round it out and say 19, 20 years. It was about 20 years that had reached out to him for a conversation. I mean, I just can't I couldn't understand, like with heavy metal media, like it's just so fucking juvenile is the word I'm going to use. I don't understand why it's so
I agree.
dumb.
I won't say, and the other way around. Sometimes I don't see the point having some artists are just, in my opinion, don't deserve to be where they are, and the other way around. Some artists nobody talks about should be in a lot more in the media than what they are. And you took Stewart as an example, but there are plenty, man. Stuff, even, Tumas, man. I'm gonna tell you, Tumas is one of the greatest drummer I ever played with. This guy, nobody hear anything about this guy. I mean, seriously, I've played with drummers, but this guy was such a good drummer, and nobody cared. Nobody asked anything. Nobody. It's a shame. And with the clickbaits and the juvenile way of doing journalism nowadays, it's not gonna get better. That's for sure.
No, you're not wrong.
Because nowadays it's all about social. It's no problem. How many people will click on your fucking video?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. Sorry, it's just broken up again. Sorry, mate. Yeah. See if it comes back.
That I banned when with From Kaos, with the production, I wanted almost like a statement to do no samples and do something very.
Yeah, gotcha. Now you're back. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I'm glad you introduced the topic of From Kaos, because that's we've definitely got to talk about that. So you alluded to it in some of your commentary there, what I could pick up anyway, which is that the approach on Synchronicity I, no modern samples, no amp sims. It's you could call it a statement against the modern polished sound in metal, which is that very tightly compressed brick thing. But obviously, playing in an authentic manner is really important to you. But the obvious question is, why is playing in an authentic manner like that important to you, and so many aren't?
I hear not enough of that nowadays. We need to get back to that, and we need to use technology the right way. Not to. I say that in an interview not so long ago. I'm going to say it again. When I grew up in the 90s and started to listen to black. I heard bands that to be when now to a little more of doing our own thing, even though we are part of the scene. We do our own stuff and the way we think it's right, and even if it means that you don't need a lot of compression and over polished stuff, that's a statement and a way not to sound like everybody else. And I think everybody should have that a little more nowadays. Well, that's why I did.
Yeah. But you partner or you collaborate with, is it, I'm hopeless when it comes to European names, so apologies here, Brice, but is it Janne Jaloma? Is that how you pronounce the drummer's name from? Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Dr.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So how did your collaboration with him come about?
Good question. We knew each other because we have the guitar. For him, and that evolved quite. And I listened to his playing, and I liked what I heard. I thought he was a very good player. And when it came the moment where I needed to put drums on my music, I had this vision of that kind of playing in head. And then it went well, but we did it in 3 times because he's always very busy with Funeral and Night Crown, both bands, and he's touring a lot with Dark Funeral. So we had to do in 3 different time to record the drums, but he went well. That's why I liked him. He can play fast stuff very well, and he can play slow stuff very well, and he doesn't use that much of triggering and stuff on his kit either. So I like that, and it matched, and so the rest is on the album.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So what's next for From Kaos? Are there any plans for touring or more releases in the near future?
I will, for sure continue, and I'm already thinking about the next album. I'm gonna see how things are taking off with the first album, and I have some ideas maybe to do either some event live event, but not touring that much, more on one-shot stuff, or eventually do some kind of live recording. Film the live recording can be also an alternative, but I have some ideas in remote locations and stuff, but I need to know. I'm taking it step by step. Let's put it that way. First, I'm just, trying to put it out and see how people react to it.
Yeah, is that like in terms of like your day to day? What takes up most of your time these days? Is it doing the videos, or I assume you've got to have a day job as well?
It depends. It depends. It depends where you're at. When I was really writing the album, I would focus on only doing that. Right now, it's you spend most of your time on social media and trying to promote your stuff and get stuff together, and that's not an exercise I like that much, but what the hell, you don't have the choice. So either you fight the system or you play with it, and I think it's smarter to play with it. I don't like it, but I do it. It was not back in the days. It was not the same situation. The industry didn't work the same way. There were labels and a lot of touring, and now it's different. It's evolving in a different way. But what can you do? That's the way it evolved. So I try to do the best out of it.
How do you find the social media aspect of things?
I don't like it. I find it artificial, and I found it. But at the same time, you can't fight it. So either you go with it and you try to find your own way of working with it, or you don't do shit. So I chose the first alternative.
It's a Brice. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because we all have to work within it, but I feel like it's a bit of a demonic fucking entity for the most part. I just don't enjoy it either.
For sure. It's a love and hate thing. It's like you need it, and sometimes it's good, but at the same time, I hate doing that because it's not an exercise. What I like to do is music. I'm a musician, you know. That's what it's difficult with the industry today. It's like, well, I'm a musician, so that what I like most is to play music, but the system is asking you to do everything else as well now. So I fucking hate doing visuals. I hate doing stuff like that, but I have to because it's the way it works today. And of course, you can pay some people, but pay on your own, and you need to be polyvalent and to do everything yourself. Which is, when it comes to music, it's very good. When it comes to the rest, it's not that fun, but no choice. So.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I don't think we've got a choice. I think we have to engage with the bloody thing if we want to maintain.
That's right.
A presence, because people don't visit websites. Websites mean nothing virtually these days.
That's right. If you stay on your own, you know, on your ideas and like, no, I don't want to do that, and I want to. Well, you need to be present on the social media if you want to be heard. And of course, it's for the reason to try to play your music to people and people make out of the tools very often that tend to shit.
Yeah,
it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's not the tool that is shit. It's the way that people use it.
It's the application of it. Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's always the case.
Yeah, I know.
It's always like that.
I just think it's all down to what people choose to how people choose to consume media. I'm not even at a point where I'm prepared to blame social media as a tool. I'm with you on that, but it's people's viewing habits. The unfortunate thing is we're dealing with something which has proven to be addictive. So
that's right.
The same way that people.
I heard Gene Simon not so long ago in an interview saying, it's not the business that killed music. It's the people. It's because they started to download music for free and started to do that. And I think the responsibility of the people are a lot more important than what we think. Yeah. Sure.
Or also, so one of the things that I'm not saying be like me, I'm simply saying what I do, and I'm sure a lot of listeners do this too, but whenever I go to watch a band and they're a local band or whatever, I usually donate to them in the form of buying a T-shirt. And to be honest, I never even wear the T-shirt for the most part. I just buy it thinking, well, I've got it, and I give it to my brother. My wife's mother's family are in the Philippines, and they don't have a lot of the family aren't too bad, actually. The family have means and resources, but a lot of the third cousins and the extended people who I don't know don't. And so I often just send over things, and occasionally I'll see videos come back of these T-shirts that I've given away, in the background or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, I just look at it and think, well, I mean, it's $30, it's $35 Australian, it's whatever. Here you go, and move on. Because I'm with you. Like, if we don't support the bands financially, that there isn't going to be bands. There'll just be people doing things on the internet.
The way it used to be is that we used to earn money through our music. We used to sell CDs, vinyls, and earn money through that. And then, of course, there were labels selling your stuff, and then you would tour and then earn money on that. Nowadays, you don't earn shit money with your music. It's not with your music that you earn the money. It's with the merch, and sometimes with the touring, if you can have the chance to arrange a good deal. But it's not the same way. You don't earn the money the same way. So the way you're doing it to support artists like that, yeah, for sure, it's a noble thing to do, for sure.
Yeah, but even at the level of like, I've got to be honest, I don't watch a lot of local bands because a lot of it is, it's both derivative and it's just not that enjoyable, to be quite honest with you. I do watch a lot of touring band, and I'm quite friendly with guys like Matt from, he was in Akerkocker and the Berserker and got Werewolves. Yeah, you've probably heard of Werewolves. He's in Werewolves these days, and Matt Wilcock, that is. There are some people locally that I'm quite friendly with, and Jamie, of course, I'll always support Jamie because he's my mate. With Lord Chaos and the Covenant and other things that he's doing, but he doesn't. Jamie probably doesn't need me to buy a T-shirt for him. I'm just saying that I try to connect in a way that's vaguely academic with music. Like I try to get something out of it which enriches. Does that make sense? And if it does that, mate, then they're definitely going to get a T-shirt purchase from me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do. It's not an easy exercise though, but I'm still amazed about the fact that, this movement, rock and roll and black metal and metal in general, is all about rebellion. It's all about rebellion against the system, against something, against some ideas, against some whatever. And nowadays, I see artists that are only one thing in mind, is to fit in. It doesn't work that way. We don't fit in. You're not doing it to fit in something. You're doing it to express yourself on a rebellious point of view. And that's the way it always was. And I think we should get back to that a little more. That's why I try to do the way I did From Kaos. And that's why you were asking earlier.
Hey, have you had... So actually, I should ask first before I take it down another pathway. What happened with Satyricon? Was there an opportunity for you to stay on and be? I know there's go for it.
The thing is, and I take this on me. I think I'm not made to play in a band, and I think I was not made to play in a band. I think I was made to have my own band. It took me time to understand that. But I don't stand, and I cannot stand to have somebody telling me what to do and not do. And I cannot stand that. I just don't, and that's the way I am. And I can of course discuss things, and I'm not impossible, and I'm not. But when I don't agree with the choice, when I don't agree with the ideas, and when I don't agree with certain things, I cannot just and get along anyway, because that's not the way I work. If I don't like the idea, I don't like the idea. And it's better, I think, to do my own thing then, like I do now. And that's what happened in Satyricon. I understood very... I want to be my own boss, and the thing is, but you don't consider it then, or because you're not the leader of the band, you just follow. It's difficult. It's complicated, and I rather do my own thing now.
Yeah. Was there? I know you did some. You were certainly adjacent to doing some work, so you probably knew Eric from Watain when you were in Dissection. But he's had members come and go over the years.
Oh yeah, in Dissection we toured 2 months.
Yeah,
we toured 2 months in Europe with Watain.
Yeah, and
he was. He went well during the tour, but they stopped talking to me from one day to another when I left Dissection, and I didn't like that much. So I'm not in touch with them anymore. Yeah. I find it a shame, and I don't like being judged on that, because I think if somebody could be judgmental, is the guy in the band eventually, but that's it. And I didn't like that, but
yeah. So you were talking to them, and then
we have strong opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
No
Well, that's what you're talking about there. What I did pick up from that is that, as soon as you're part of the fold, when you're part of the fold, people will talk to you, but when you're out of it, they all of a sudden pretend you don't exist. And Brice, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, from members of Cradle of Filth or what have you. It's pretty common.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, not everybody is like that, but I know I have some friends for a long time, and I'm not like that. But there is a big part that are like that, indeed, and that's the way it is. Should accept it, live with it, and do the best out of it.
Well, there you have it. As I mentioned in the introduction, an absolutely worthy long-form conversation that was plagued by technical issues. I did my best to ensure it was cleaned up without affecting the integrity of the flow of the conversation, because I think it's important that some of those points remain intact, technical glitch and all. But I certainly hope it is not my one and done conversation with Brice, because I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. All right, that's it from me. Go across to Scars and Guitars if you're interested to find out more about what the show is all about. If you're unfamiliar, I have written a book in addition to the mini conversations, Chronicles of Filth, so many conversations with former members of Cradle of Filth, including one there with Danny Filth himself. It's a short one, but it certainly exists. All over at scarsandguitars.com. My name's Andrew Mackay Smith, and I'm the host of Scars and Guitars. Until the next one, it's a goodbye for now.